Okay, we're on. Yeah, let's go. Nice and easy. Welcome to EngageU. I'm Stathis Askaridis, and I will be presenting an idea, basically, that I'm currently exploring, which is having a single web viewer for FileMaker UI. So, as you might have noticed, AI is changing everything, including the financial sector, the energy industry, people trying to find out how to exploit energy sources outside of Earth. So a lot of things are changing thanks to AI. In this session, we're going to explore how we can leverage AI to create something that I personally don't like, UI. So the fun part about this is I'm here having a presentation about AI and UI, and I'm really into development. I don't really like UI, and I somewhat like AI, but I love the WebViewer. So just something to think about how empowering AI is. I just told you that. So if you don't know me, I'm Stathis. I'm from Thessaloniki, Greece. I'm a founder of the Pineapple Claris partner in Greece and an associate developer at Winnow Data. I started my FileMaker journey as a client, basically developing for my family business some tools, and then finding a contractor to build a FileMaker app for us, which failed, thankfully, because this is when I said, okay, you know what, I'll build it on my own, and 10 years later, here I am. So I love productivity tools. So if you're into craft or any productivity tool, let me know. We'll have a great chat. And the last couple of years, I have been focusing my research, my FileMaker research, in the WebViewer. And the interesting part is that when I started my FileMaker professional career, I had zero web code knowledge. Basically, some HTML I did in high school, that's it. So let me I'll tell you a story about my first FileMaker conference in 2018 in London. I was, in gaming, you would call it a noob. It was my first conference. I was so excited. And I remember the name was Frank Liu. I believe he was CTO at Claris, at FMI back then. And he delivered a session about acquiring an automation platform, you might recall. And you all know that this brought us, thankfully, Giuliano to the community. And he explained the strategy on why automation is big. And after his session ended, the noob with extra enthusiasm because it's the first conference, I went there, and I remember I had the dashboard task I was working on. And I was like, can I ask something? Is there any way you'll do something in the chart layout object? And I still remember his answer. He said, we are not in the graph business. So his answer was troublesome at that point. So what do you mean? It's like, buying a car, and you have that button that it's only for the top tier models, but it's there. It felt like that. Like you have the graph, and it's so outdated. Some years later, it all made sense. So the question is FileMaker in the UI business? This question is is better explored in the context of AI. So we are low-code developers, and we're trying to figure out how we can leverage AI. This is what I would say this period is. The AI boom is big. So it's everywhere. People are afraid of losing their jobs. It has changed how we drive our cars. It has changed the energy sector a lot. And we have, in FileMaker, we have a history with AI. It started with the machine learning, if you remember the function, a couple of years back. And now Claris is putting a lot of effort. Actually, one thing I discussed yesterday was that from my point of view, since FileMaker 14 that I have been around, it's the first period I see so quick changes in FileMaker Pro, which is great. And what AI brought, apart from are we losing our jobs, are we becoming obsolete, is a new profession. I don't know if you know, but vibe coder is a new profession. It's real, it's there. And at this point, I would like a quick raise of hands. How many of you know what agentic AI does in code editor? Great, OK. So let me show you. What we're going to do here is I'm going to monitor my display. We're going to do vibe coding. Mirror display. Yep. OK. Great. So I'm going to create a new project just in my documents folder. I'll say example, whatever. I'm going to open it in my VS Code. So what you see here is a code editor. It's VS Code. It's by Microsoft. And here on the right, I have GitHub Copilot with Claude Sonnet, which is the best agentic AI. So let's make it interesting. Let's ask Claude to go to EngageU attendees, extract the data from this table, and pick one attendee at random, and I will buy a beer to that person. So and it helps to tell it exactly what to do. In this case, I will ask it to be a Python developer. You are a Python developer. Sorry? Yes, I will add that. You're a Python developer, and you need to develop a simple script that grabs the content from this URL and identifies the table where attendees are, parses the attendees, and picks one at random. So it doesn't even matter if it works or not. I just want you to see how it's doing it. So what changed with agentic AI is basically, so basically, the agent is breaking down, it's doing subtasks. So it says, OK, I need to do that. Before I do that, I'll do subtasks. I need to first get this library that fetches the content and blah, 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 blah. And then I need to create this part of code. And then, in this case, because it's Python, it's virtual environment. I'm not a Python developer. This is how I found about virtual environments. And basically, you just click allow until it works. Petra Heitman. Petra? You're not here. OK. I will be buying beer or any other alcoholic beverage. And that's it. No Python. I don't know what it did. I should know. But vibe coders, they don't know. This is what the profession is. The profession is understanding what the best prompt would be so the AI agent can create this. Cool, right? So this is what vibe coding is about. I also, last week, actually a couple of weeks ago, I watched this video. It's great to watch it. So basically, those two guys, the one on the left is a vibe coder, and the one on the right is an expert Swift developer. And the challenge is, who is going to build a better iOS application with maximum 5 prompts that has the exact functionality of what they said? I didn't check the amount, but they said that it was 250 million up. So I assume they checked the VCs, the funding that the company that built that application got. That's my assumption. But the important is that there is an app that generates income, and they did it in 5 prompts. And people are voting who did a better thing. And they're using Cloud Code, which I wanted to put in this session as well, but I'll just ask you to Google what Cloud Code is. So why all this is important? Because it provides a no-code way of building an interface. Why an interface? Because FileMaker, we don't have that AI development enablement, but we do have the WebViewer, so we can use this technology to create great UIs. So let's put that on the side, and let's think what this is all about. It's about the layout engine. So the layout engine, if you think about it, this was, by the way, generated by ChatGPT. I checked the dates. I think they are correct. I wasn't able to verify all the dates. The important part is that the button bar feature was delivered at 2015. And I personally think that the card windows are also a UI feature and also a development feature, because with card windows, you can open different FileMaker files, and it seems, anyhow. The important part is all layout objects that we have today in the layout are 10 years old. So 10 years, nothing changed in what we can deliver with a layout. Sure, we have master portal, we have layout calculations, but it didn't give us responsive design. It didn't give us something we couldn't build the harder way before. And on the other hand, we have the progression of the WebViewer. The WebViewer really changed when the FMP protocol was provided a way to perform scripts in 2012. And in 2020, you probably know that the FileMaker perform script and later the perform script with option JavaScript functions were provided, as well as perform JavaScript in a WebViewer. This made this much easier to create, to communicate with FileMaker. Excuse me. And of course, it made it easier to not have the blink the notorious blink effect. There were ways before that, like the local storage event listener, but it was very complicated to not have the blink. Oops, no. For me, what really changed everything was execute FileMaker.api CRUD operations. And that paired with ChatGPT 3, which allowed us to build code with ChatGPT. And then the LLMs got better and more parameters, and you have structured language, which is coding, and a large language model. It's easy for a large language model to generate something that is structured. So this is why it's now very important, because whilst we could say that everything that we're going to discuss today technically was possible since 2012, it would require a lot of effort and wouldn't make sense to talk about it without AI and the CRUD operations that execute FileMaker.api brought. So you might ask, okay, Stathis, I have no web code experience. That's why I would like to take you through my web code experience, just to explain that it's not that difficult. Like, you don't need to write code. You just need to understand at the high level what it does, what to choose, why to choose it. So, for example, we did a Python script, but someone like us should be able to say, if it does Python script, it means that I will need to deploy it in Python. Python deployment is not easy. Contact the IT. Can we do Python deployment? Is it easy? Yes, no. Should we do Node.js? From our perspective, and the way I see it, we need to understand the high level of things, the infrastructure. Then, if we do that, we can explain to the AI what we need and how it needs to build it, which is what we do, right? We tell our developers, you need to do this. This is the strategy. This is the approach. This is our job. So my steps, baby steps, first steps, I think, for everyone was a map. Then I personally did some pickers, like, the RGB, the color picker, a date picker. And then a FileMaker challenge made me to want to explore, also the tag, sorry. A FileMaker challenge pushed me to explore WebViewer capabilities. So you all know that the pop-up menu in Windows, it doesn't support the type ahead. We all do. So this limitation pushed me to learn more JavaScript and to build a picker that is cross-platform, works everywhere, works in WebDirect, works in Microsoft, in Windows, in Mac, FileMaker Go, everywhere. But sometimes the challenge is disguised as opportunity. And that was for me. And then there was another great use case for WebViewer, which I really enjoyed working on. And I presented a couple of years in .fmp. And that was doing a cast find in the WebViewer. So basically, WebViewer has something that is called IndexedDB. And it's basically a small database in the browser. And using that, with one function, I loaded every one of the attendees here. And when you're searching here, in FileMaker, the WebViewer first checks the IndexedDB. If needed, it will check FileMaker as well. Last year, in this very event in Sweden, I presented a sponsored session, the Rhythm Scheduler. Rhythm Scheduler is a JavaScript web component which is used by big companies, and it changes how you can schedule things. Everything is WebViewer, so there is proof that the WebViewer is powerful. Then the next step, after you get to that point, is dashboards, entire layouts where everything is WebViewer. If you ever did dashboard with WebViewer, you would probably have this situation. You probably ended up in this situation where you have islands of WebViewers. And that problem is only solved by having one single WebViewer. Why? Because this is very difficult to keep in sync. You have the local storage event listener, but it's very difficult to manage that. Besides that, I also started doing entire layouts depending on the use case. So here you see a FileMaker go up with some layouts when the situation requires are one WebViewer. So this is feels like iOS. It doesn't have that portal inception situation that it used to have before I did that. And we also build a WebDirect app. It's great. Having web components in WebDirect, it feels like you're in a web app. And I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but I think it made production, so I'll gamble. And also the WebDirect, now it's coming that the back button is going to show you an alert. So the only thing that feels FileMaker is in the WebDirect is the resize window. There is no reason why you shouldn't use web components in WebDirect. It feels so native. So after having all that in place, the next step that only makes sense was having one WebViewer. Why? Because of the blinking, you're changing layouts, the record loads. If you have worked with WebViewer, you know that if the WebViewer loads for one record, it's there. When you move to another record, it needs to load again. And the solution is no layouts, one WebViewer. So this was the next logical step. But it felt like a big, risky step. Thankfully, we have a great community of developers. And whenever you are stuck, I strongly recommend don't use ChatGPT. Don't even use Google. Go to the Claris community. I feel that I've never experienced a problem that I didn't have the answer in the Claris community. I strongly recommend using the community first, then trying Google and ChatGPT. What I found, actually, before that, when EngageU posted this session on LinkedIn, a person from, I think, Nigeria reached out and said, hello, I thought I was the only person who was doing that. That's so cool. And we jumped in a meeting and we met. This guy, Cyril, from Ghana, he built a clinic app in FileMaker using WebViewer. What's even more wow, what's even greatest, is that he didn't know the execute FileMaker.api script step. He's using execute SQL, which you know that it's a two-way knife. But when you're using execute SQL and there are no open records, it's very fast, depending on unstored calculations. But because of the paradigm, the web paradigm, execute SQL was fast. And he was also concatenating in his SQL CSS classes, which I found very interesting. And he had scripts, and everything just worked. And he said, OK, I know I'm trying too much. And then I told him about my session and how he could leverage execute FileMaker.api, and it was like in one script, and he was like, wow, yeah, I've done a lot of effort. But my point is that this person put a lot of effort to create that. What I'm going to present today is something that requires no effort to create something like that. Another colleague of mine and very dear friend, Phil Kemp, has done the next step. What's the next step? There is next step. He built a FileMaker solution that I think he's giving for free that builds the web UI. So here you have his builder components. So you say, I want a table that is sourced from that FileMaker table. And then here are my fields. My laser doesn't work. Anyhow, second layout. Here are my fields. This is the primary key. And those are some attributes. This is required, unique, etc. And the view you see on the top right is automatically, dynamically rendered from this configuration. So when you do this configuration, it generates one big JSON file. And that JSON file is used to render all the web app. I would expect a wow for my colleague. Yeah, so yeah, that's great. He built a FileMaker app which generates the UI for the FileMaker app. And we, at WeKnowData, we are pushing the boundaries with AI. And I cannot share the details, but I can say that we are trying to find the best ways to use AI for development. The question is, Rob asked me, how risky it is? And I told him, I don't know. But what I do know is that the most popular application, FileMaker application in the world, is using that paradigm. So I assume you all know auto-deploy. This is using the WebViewer. So over-the-air updates, you have cross-platform, Unity, you have all the JavaScript ecosystem at your tool in your fingertips. So if you need to build an integration with an email client, you just do npm. Actually, AI just does npm install this. Boom, an integration one key down away. So yeah, it's possible. Geist is doing it. Phil is doing it. I'm doing it. Cyril is doing it. So the community is doing it. Not at great scale right now, but at least we are checking the waters, so to speak. So the big question is, for a medium-sized FileMaker application, can you have one WebViewer to rule them all? That's the big question. This is what this session is about. So how can I build this? Thankfully, thanks to AI, you don't need web development skills, but it would be great if you had someone with web development skills, because if you just have AI do its stuff and it works, it's not, it has some risk. With the UI, the risk is not critical, but you still have a risk. So you can create a prototype, you can make it work in FileMaker, but you still need someone or another AI tool in the future, or even now, to audit this code. And basically, are there any security vulnerabilities? And is there technical debt? If I need to do something new, is it going to be an issue? What the single web component gives you is a very clean way, a way that all program development is, not all, but a lot of frameworks are based on, and it's called the MVC, the Model View Controller. So thanks to this paradigm, you have the UI living in your WebViewer, you have your database in FileMaker, and then you have what I personally think is the best controller, the FileMaker scripting engine. So what you have is like an Electron app living in FileMaker, and you still have your scripting engine. This paradigm, what are the advantages? What are the challenges? So there are a lot of advantages, like you have AI in FileMaker, because you're using AI to do the web UI, which is used in FileMaker, so you can create one app in 5 prompts. You have cross-platform, you have the whole JavaScript ecosystem on your fingertips. You have MVC separation. You don't do like global fields and relationships for portals and conditional value lists, and you have clean setup. You have the whole JavaScript environment in your fingertips. You have a separation model that is very distinct. And you have a great relationship graph, which is like that. No anchor buoy, no spider web, no nothing. You have a proper database. And despite what you might think, FileMaker, this kind of setup, it's not slow. FileMaker is slow when you have big relationship graph, and you have unstored calculations, and you have summary fields, and you have a lot of stuff. This performs not as fast as MySQL, MariaDB, but it's not that far away as you might think. There are some challenges, and from my point of view, the biggest challenge is that you have one channel, one communication channel between the WebViewer and FileMaker. And that channel is the FileMaker perform JavaScript and perform JavaScript with option from the WebViewer to FileMaker, and the perform JavaScript in WebViewer from FileMaker to JavaScript. For me, that's the biggest challenge, because it's synchronous, it's one, there's no, what you can do is you can now use perform skin on server with callback, but you shouldn't do that because you will get your server down, probably. So what I really wish I had was an asynchronous way of running scripts locally. And the other challenge that when you have built a lot of WebViewer stuff, you will eventually find out is there are only a handful of things that don't work the same in Windows. The biggest challenge for that is the onFocus event on Windows doesn't exist, which means that React doesn't work the same as in Mac. So when we have this discussion, people ask, OK, Stathis, you can do that. Why keep FileMaker? The answer, I say, depends who you are. But if you're asking me, my powers is in the scripting engine. That's the skill that I'm most proud of and most powerful at. I don't want to go away from that. But it also is something very important as well, in security. If you ever did a web app and you researched the implications of security, deployment, DevOps, it changes how we deliver. So it's a different approach. It's not like entirely different, but it's a different approach. With this setup, it's like having an Electron application within FileMaker, and you have your script engine, and you have all the skills that you have are right there, just different UI. And I created this table for reference. Basically, that's the difference in the approaches if you're doing web development versus FileMaker. And I think it's clear that there are reasons why to use FileMaker, even if you're a web developer. So now that we have all that knowledge, how can we leverage it? The software application development process is big, and it starts from inception, speaking with clients, and doing some mock-ups, maybe or not, depending on budget, etc. And it's this circle that you deliver, you get new requirements, you get testing, deliver. It's that circle. And AI can work in a lot of stages of this process. Actually, my colleagues Rob and Mark are delivering a session on how you can leverage AI from the very inception. In this session, we are going to touch the design and development part. So how we can use AI to empower this stage of development. If you have a graphic designer, you probably have Figma. They probably have Figma, they just share it with you. So there are two starting points when you're building a web app. You either have a Figma mockup or you either don't. So if you have a Figma mockup, there is a tool called Locify, an AI tool that will get the Figma designs and it will convert it to web code. We also have the Claris wishlist, where there is Figma to FileMaker. Hope you voted for that. But if you don't have the mockups, that's fine. Figma has a new tool called Figma Make. Yes, Figma Make, thank you. Called Figma Make, that it can do it for you. It's an AI tool. It generates AI front end using AI. So you might say, OK, let's go to Figma Make and tell it to do 1, 2, 3, 4. What I found is the best way to get the best results using AI is you don't start raising requirements. It's like, you remember, you all have this client that is so enthusiastic and goes, I want this, and I want that. And you don't dive in directly, do you? No. You write it down. So I have found that ChatGPT is best when crafting requirements or text, composing text. So what I did for this example is I started with ChatGPT. This example is, let's build a FileMaker application for EngageU. So I went to ChatGPT, and note this part. I always tell it what profession I want it to be. You are a senior software consultant, because that is the profession that designs the UI with requirements. So I went to ChatGPT, and I provided a markdown of all my requirements, and I told it, ChatGPT, give me the prompt that I will post to Figma Make to create the UI. And what what ChatGPT gave me, we don't have time to show that, sorry. So what ChatGPT gave me as a response is, I need clarifications. It gave me 40 questions, legit questions. And I answered all 40 questions. And it gave me a follow-up 10 questions. And I have those questions. I will try to say it in the material afterwards. So after this conversation I had with ChatGPT, I took like the mega prompt. And I put the mega prompt in Figma Make. And I said, here is the requirements. And Figma Make did that in one prompt. And the great part about that is you can share it with your client. Where are you? Here you are. So one prompt, hey client, here's your app. Do you like it? Just look how much functionality with one prompt we got. We have contacts, contact information. You have edit, delete, add new, searching, conferences. I told it to create an app for EngageU, which is a FileMaker conference organization that plans conferences once a year in different venues. Venues have rooms, and the conference has attendees and speakers. And here are the conferences. It creates the agenda, the sessions, everything. One prompt. You can create rooms, you can do everything. And then I said, you know what? I don't like, it feels like Google. This is because I asked it to do it in Material UI. Material UI is Google's UI. I said, you know, I don't find it sexy. I want something else. And then I told it, use Southern UI. Southern UI is another UI framework that feels more fresh. But I didn't go to that project and say, you know what, change it. I did a new project, and I just changed my prompt because I have found out by experience that it's much better doing a one prompter, what I call, rather than doing a follow-up. You might have found, if you are working with AI, that sometimes it feels like it gets in a rabbit hole. And from my experience, if you get in a rabbit hole and start from scratch, or keep a commit situation so you can go back to a state that it was OK. So what I did, I told it, hello, can you use Southern UI instead? And it did it again in one prompt. And I think I prefer that. Same function. Actually, it added more functionality here, which is quite interesting. I have a, OK. So under conference, it did the same thing, which means that AI, it's still predicting, but when the requirements are so defined, it feels like it's designing. It's not by chance, despite it actually is. That's fascinating. Again, you have, I think, yeah. Every time I check what it did, I find something new, and I just, wow. So this is what it did. One prompt. OK, that's good. So how can I use this in FileMaker? It's extending display, great. So first, you need Figma. If you download this, it's web code, and it's built in TypeScript, and there are reasons, technical reasons, that TypeScript is great for that, and you can download it. And when you download it, you can get it to your agentic code editor, which I showed you, and you can start making tweaks. You will test it with mock data, and you will say, you know what, I need this and that, and it just works. And then you need to plug it in FileMaker. That was the difficult part, what I love with every session is that I need to build something. For this session, this is what I build. So you have your WebViewer, you have your FileMaker, and you need the glue, the thing that communicates to each other. So this is why I built FMJS driver. It works only in dev mode at the moment, but I know what the issue is, and I just built it for the session. But I'm going to use it so you can scan this QR code. It's not public yet. I will make it public as soon as the session is over. And this is an AI-first driver. So basically, I built this with in mind that AI will use it. So I asked the AI, what do I need to do so my driver is best used by AI agents? You need documentation. Great. So it has a lot of documentation, all the examples, and it has a secret sauce, which I had a discussion with Luis yesterday, and it's the same thing that they are doing with MCP. It's one script that goes to every layout and gathers all the metadata using design functions and execute FileMaker API, metadata action, and just gathers your FileMaker Pro information and creates one JSON file, which looks like the context layout has ID field, which is primary key, string, has a email field, string, blah, 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 all the layouts. And it comes with a CLI command, which is basically you tell the CLI to run something, and it converts that JSON to TypeScript. What this means is that AI doesn't need to predict a lot because it's structured. So it's like Sudoku. Because of the types of the TypeScript, you cannot use this thing however you want, and this is very helpful to AI. And also for developers, it's very helpful because they get intelligence. So they would like type fm dot, and then all the layouts that you are exposing are going to be a drop-down from using this driver. And there are two parts. The one is the script that generates that schema information, and one script that provides the interaction. And on the other hand, the JavaScript end, you have basically one simple JavaScript driver that translates data operations to execute FileMaker data API request. That's it. And it's using FM Gopher, which is basically a nice tool that you can run FileMaker.perform script or perform script with option and get with one function the callback and do this dance. Great, great stuff. And so great. We have everything in place. Now let's go to deploying. OK. What you can also do is ask AI to convert the data, the sample data it created. You can ask and say, hey, could you create CSV files for me? And then AI will create sample data, great sample data with AI in CSV format. And then you can just use import records. And if it's a new project, you can use the new table in the dropdown, and it will create the table and the fields. And you don't even need to type a field for that. And after you have all that, you just go to Claude, the agentic AI I told you. You say, OK, everything is ready. Just whatever function you had that was requesting data from sample data, use this driver. And I also pointed to the documentation. And in one prompt again, it just removed all the sample data, and it's using FileMaker data. One prompt. Why? Because the driver was built as any database driver is built. So it has the functions that you would expect: list, create, update, get, delete. And because it has documentation on each use case. So the AI goes to the documentation explains how to use it, and boom. So let's see how it looks like. Slippery. Where are you? Right. OK. So this is what it looks like, exactly as the mockup. And basically, when it loads, it basically runs this JS driver script. The script is plain simple. Do I need to run a script before? Do I need to run an execute FileMaker.api? Do I need to run a script after? That's it. This is loading all tables at startup. It's going to work, but you need to tweak it afterwards. And now you have this UI that you build with one prompt in Figma Make, working in FileMaker. You can create records. It will give you, if something is wrong, because of FM Gopher, it will tell you that something went wrong. So John Deere, OK, caps lock, Deere. Save. You see here, contact added successfully. Exactly as you would expect. I'm reloading, and here it is. And if I go to my raw tables, you will see this is where it is. I can't see. Yeah. So this is how it works. You can do basically whatever you would do in a FileMaker application. I would expect something. No, it's OK. And the one last thing that I wanted to point out is that because you are in the JavaScript ecosystem, you get so much stuff. For example, one thing I wanted to demonstrate, but I didn't have time, was using Cloud Code. So you can tell your users, if you need something extra, I know, too risky, right? Ask AI agent to, hello, I need one new layout. And you can have one JSON field for all the fields that you don't have. And create this extra field, and there it is. Very risky, that's why. And my favorite part is there is a JavaScript tool that does debugging, and it does real debugging. So this tool, Sentry.io, there are other ones as well. You plug it in your web component, and it's going to gather all errors automatically. So you're not waiting for your users to say, hey, this is not working. You will know that. And actually, Sentry.io, it does something like a replay of what the user was doing when the error occurred. So you're proactive as it can get. And that is just one example of the JavaScript ecosystem that really changes how we deliver. I could talk a lot of hours. If you like this content, feel free to reach out. I think we have 5 minutes for questions. Anyone? Microphone, please. Mark to the rescue. Okay.
Who's first? Questions? Is there a single layout in your managed layout data, in your managed layouts?
Yes, the initial layouts that were created when I created the tables, period. Because execute FileMaker.api uses layouts, I'm basically in the schema script that goes in every layout and it says, OK, this is what the layout has, and this is what the web component, the UI, needs to use. So it's layout-based because it's using execute FileMaker.api. And yes, there is one layout per table.
So you only use a layout basically for the data API, and then you have one layout for all the front ends?
Yeah, for the web component, that's correct.
Awesome demo, Stathis. Really, really good.
Thank you.
I guess my question is, what does Figma Make bring to the party? Because ChatGPT or Claude can generate the UI without that, and also kind of play it back and show a demo.
Yeah, great question. I was planning to demonstrate that, but time goes by very quickly. So what Figma Make is doing is basically Figma Make create a calendar user interface. So what Figma Make does is it gives you access to the UI element. So the reason why I love this tool is, first, you can go and pick the exact div, which is the thing that doesn't work, and say, this one, I want it to be something different. And there's also one more thing, that when you do your prototyping and you still have a graphic designer, you can convert the Figma design to Figma, the Figma Make to Figma designs, and then give it to your graphic designer and say, OK, now you are in Figma, you need to do that. But of course, if you did that, you lose the ease of getting the generated code to your app. You know, Figma is using Claude. So it's basically Claude on UI steroids. You know, you can use Claude. It's mostly the same thing. They just, I assume that they inject some system prompting that it's good. Hi, Agilos.
Hello?
Sorry.
Hey, you mentioned at the beginning...
I don't see you.
I'm here. How you doing?
Great, great. Your name?
I'm Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy. Nice to meet you.
You mentioned at the beginning about a problem when you use React, that it doesn't behave the same in Windows and Mac. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So React has an automated way of fetching data. And one of those ways is the focus event. Focus event is when the web viewer detects that you now are viewing the web viewer, which is when you open a layout, for example, the focus event triggers. Well, when you open a layout, that the web viewer is already loaded, because otherwise it just loads the web viewer. This works in macOS, but in Windows it doesn't work. And there are a couple of other things that I'm working with ClarisCTS. For example, the focus. So, for example, if you want, when the picker loads, the picker I showed you that I built, in Mac, it automatically gets the cursor in the search area. In Windows, it doesn't work. But I'm working with ETS to get that done, and there are a lot of little things, but the main thing is the on-focus event. It's manageable. It's not like WebDirect differences. Okay, did I answer? Great. Thank you. Hey, Agelos, yes.
Hi, Stathis. Thanks for sharing. I don't want to surprise you, but I had a question as you were presenting about the controller, the driver. I'm wondering if you need to maintain the driver. For example, if you add a table or you change the field structure, do you need to regenerate the driver or edit it as you go, for example, you know?
No, you don't need to regenerate the schema if you don't have it in the UI. So if whatever change you do, if it's not changing a field name, you can do. But if you need to change the UI, you of course need to regenerate the schema and regenerate the types, because the way TypeScript works is it needs to know all your fields. That's it. So if you do new scripts, new fields, no layouts, you might do a card window, a FileMaker card window in WebViewer because it was easier to do. You don't need to change anything. Wrap up. One last question. Here. Microphone, please. Nobody? Tell me, I will repeat it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So what about the data structure that you use inside a solution? You use summary fields and calculation, or you just delegate to the everything that you put in the JavaScript?
Yeah, I didn't get the first part. What about infrastructure?
The fields that you use inside the table.
Yeah, only normal fields, no summary fields. If not needed, but generally speaking, JavaScript is, as Honza pointed out, and you might want to vote for his petition, it's 10 times faster, 100, I don't remember the number. It's much faster. So why do the summary? JavaScript can do it in less than 10 milliseconds. If it's a big data set, so if it's sales of 2024, you can create one layout and create one summary field. It's OK. But for tables, you can ask JavaScript to do that. OK? Great. Thank you, everyone. I owe someone a drink. So if anyone knows who Marta, Petra, whoever knows Petra Heinemann, please let her know that I owe her a drink. Thank you. Have a great day.